day I received this piece of paper. It's probably the most excited I've ever been about receiving an official document. But in this video, I'm actually going to try and convince you why you should probably wait longer than you think before officially registering your business. A couple of things to note about this document. The name, for example, has changed several times since incorporating. The business was incorporated in 2018. I didn't make my first sale until October 2021. And as a result, I ended up paying a bunch of dormant account fees, as well as making some other accounting mistakes, which really made things more difficult later, all because I registered way too early. So in this video, I just want to share some honest takes on what the real benefits are of starting a limited liability corporation or limited company in the UK, whether or not you might want to consider just staying as a sole proprietor, how you can operate under a different business or trading name, even while staying as a sole proprietor, and just an honest conversation about when do you actually need to register your business. So let's start at the very beginning, which is why would you want to incorporate your business in the first place? So the main benefit of an LLC or LTD in the UK is in the name. It's the liability protection. So the simple way of understanding this is when you create a business, you basically set up a new entity which has its own responsibilities, its own debts, assets, accounts, which are separate from you, the person. So you have your own personal bank account, you have your own assets, maybe a car, maybe a house, and these things get separated when you set up your own business entity. Now, the limited liability piece is important for that reason, because if something goes wrong over here in the business and you make a big mistake, or you take out too much debt, you take out a big loan that you can't repay, or the business crashes, or you make a big mistake and someone sues you, this business entity can't actually take any of the assets from your personal accounts. So the limited liability protection makes sure that you as an individual won't pay too much of a price for the errors or things that may go wrong in your business. So that's kind of the downer, negative side, which is worrying about the risks and things, but it is a very important piece of why you might want to set up a company entity. Next benefit is tax flexibility. As well as flexibility, there are also many advantages, well, depending on the country that you live in, but in many countries such as the US and UK, there are huge advantages to owning a company in terms of how you handle your expenses and are taxed on the profits of the company versus being taxed on your income. I've skipped over a couple of these because I want to get to what I feel are real benefits, and continuity of the business is an important one, because if you set up a company as its own entity, it has its own accounts, it has a clear record, which makes it much easier to sell and for you to treat it as an asset. So those are the main benefits. You want to protect yourself from liability in the worst cases. You want to take advantage of some of the tax flexibility that comes with owning a company. And you want to be able to treat your business as an asset that you could potentially sell later. So you might be thinking that sounds pretty good. Maybe you should incorporate as soon as possible. But there is an alternative, which is to set up as a sole proprietor. So what are the benefits of being a sole proprietor, which is basically just an individual who is carrying out business activities as the person? So if I were to start offering consulting services as Gerard Lipscomb, the individual, then that would be best suited to being a sole proprietor, and I could just deliver those services as a contractor. So some of the advantages, it's very easy to establish. In the US, you don't even need to formally register if you're operating under your own name. You have full control as the sole proprietor. It is a simplified tax filing system. You just need to pay self-employment tax. You can actually, if you want to, kind of intermingle your personal expenses and your business expenses. You could even just have one bank account. Obviously, that's not best practice, but you don't need to have a formal business bank account. You have complete privacy over your business and how you run it and your accounts. And basically, you just have full flexibility to run the business however you like, and absolutely limited paperwork or registration. And I recommend that this is the best way for most businesses to start. Even if I were starting a SaaS application or building an e-commerce store, in the earliest stages, I would not register the business until I had an MVP product. I had some test users already using the product. I had some marketing channels set up, and I was basically convinced that this is going to be a business and it's worth protecting with this liability and it's worth treating it as an asset, so I should incorporate. So while you're planning, while you have this big idea, while you're maybe fiddling with the MVP and you're building your website and you're telling your friends about your idea, that can all be done under the name, if you want to call yourself something, as a sole proprietor, and you do not need to register your business before you have a product, before you have any people sign up to your newsletter or have a website or anything. You don't need to register until you are very confident in the business and its future. There is kind of an in-between, which is if you would like to operate as a sole proprietor but use a more professional or different business or product name, you can get what's called a DBA, which is doing business as, or a business trading name in the UK is what it's called. And that basically just says if I'm offering my consulting services, but I want to call it, Gerard's Awesome Automations rather than Gerard Lipscomb, then I just need to file a couple of more things to make sure that basically the tax authority knows when they see that name, Gerard's Awesome Automations, it's actually linked to this sole proprietor called Gerard Lipscomb. So that can be a nice in-between if you're running more of a services business and you don't necessarily feel like you need to incorporate a business. You can just set up this trading name. So all of that said and done, when should you actually register your business? The reason I made this video is because I often see it as literally step number one on how to start a business guides, and it's just completely backwards. There is no need to register your business before you have even come up with a clear value proposition, built an MVP, talked to any customers or potential users, done your market research, come up with a business plan. If you haven't done any of that, step number one is not to register your business. But I understand why people do it. People are afraid that they might be breaking a rule or they might be liable to some tax or something or other. You do not need to register your business until at the very latest you have made a sale. But as we've discussed, even then, even if you do have a customer that is dealing with you, you can still do that as a sole proprietor, and it's not the end of the world if you haven't actually incorporated your business before making a sale. So why should you wait? Why not just do it ahead of time anyway? Well, my personal experience with this was that I registered too early, and as a result, I had to officially change the company name 3 times officially. Internally, I changed it more times. I had to file dormant accounts. So I went through the whole process of registering the business, registering for corporation tax. And once you're in the system, and in my case, the UK government is expecting me to file accounts and documents every year to keep track of how the business is doing, you're still responsible for filing these things even if you have no trading activity. So in the UK, it's called filing dormant accounts. And there are some other things and mistakes that you open yourself up to when you are not really sure why you have this business officially registered. So I understand the excitement, and it is a really cool moment when you get this document and you feel like you are officially a business owner. But my advice is to just wait a little bit longer than you think before you register. At the very least, build a product, build your website, set up social media accounts, talk to a couple of prospective users before you actually go ahead and officially incorporate your business. And of course, if that sounds like a lot of steps, then you can use a tool like Bizway, which will walk you step by step through a roadmap for planning and launching your business, and it will tell you exactly when you should actually register and incorporate the business. So if you have any specific questions for your situation, if you're thinking about incorporating or you already have and you're wondering whether it was the right decision, leave me a comment. I'll be happy to answer any questions that I can. Thanks for watching.